Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Luke Hart here, board reviewer, board shaper as well, one of my own ones. Really excited about this one. It is the all-new Doofer. It's something that I've been thinking about for ages. As many of you may or may not know, I have been on the path of mid-length ascension down to kind of refined mid-length, smaller boards. It's kind of opened up my surfing. I feel like I'm surfing really good. I've dipped back into the dark side of shortboards. And this was one of my favorite evers. The Doofer was one of my favorites. So surfing the BP Minis, what it's taught me is that making the fundamentals easy means that I focus less on the tiny little things, so I can just focus on what I want to do, essentially. So I have added some refinements to the Doofer model, which is going to make it easier for me to paddle into waves, to have instant down the line stability, and then to be able to turn it more aggressively. So I'm going to take you through those differences, and then I'm going to go through the overall design. First things first, we'll start with the outline. It's still Doofer. It's still very much, these are tweaks, not all out changes. So the first concept of the Doofer was from kind of here, good wave board, kind of here, bad wave board or easy paddler or whatever you want to say, thus creating the hybrid template. Something that when I first started it, there was no such thing as hybrids. This was just a crazy thing that we tried to do, and it kind of worked, and over the years we've refined it. So what you end up with is kind of like longer straighter rails here with the higher wide point, a more drawn out curve in the outline here, and instead of using the thumbtail, which I used to use on the standard Doofer, now we're in a rounded pin, and I've ever so slightly changed the width of the tail here to be slightly less comparative to the width. So I've increased a slight amount of width and I've taken away a slight amount of width in the tail. This gives you a little bit of quicker rail to rail transition because you've got so much stability up front. You're going so fast really quickly that you want that rail to rail ability so you can be more aggressive basically, and it be easier to do so. It's a slight change in the width of the tail and into the round pin so I can push it nice and hard. Then you follow it up here, there's a slight rail extension, so this is a 6.0, it's probably got the rail length of a high performance shortboard of something, you know, 6.4-ish. So you get more board engaged in the water, which is helping with your paddle, helping with your initial stability and the feeling of control on your front foot. And then it goes into this kind of snubbed out shortboard nose. When you look at the rockers, I haven't changed it. It worked perfect. It is like a high performance rocker, two-stage rocker basically. You've got a flap through the bottom, flips out in the tail, not enough to give you any drag, but plenty to give you pivot. And then then it lifts gradually into the entry so that as much board is engaged in the water as possible when you're paddling, and the single concave starts to lift and elevate you up really easily. And I think it's that coupled with the foil of the board, overall foil, where we have increased foam through this. Basically from here to here, I've made it flatter on the deck. Same on the bottom, but flatter through here. These increases, this is what makes the Doofer fundamentally in design so good at paddling. Everyone I know who's had Doofers, bearing in mind that one year we sold 400 Doofers. It's one of the most popular boards we've ever done. Everyone I speak to loves it and cherishes it, and some have had more than one, and I know a lot of them are excited about this new release, and all of them say, I can't believe how easy it is to catch waves on, and I've added and increased that, so that's really exciting for me because that's fundamentally what makes it such a good board to surf, is because you can catch any kind of wave, you can then surf it in any wave. There were, I'd say it's not a bad thing to suggest that because it was a jack of all trades and you could catch waves really quickly, I always found it a little bit boring in the flatter range of waves because it kind of felt a bit, I don't know, just a bit bumbly and you couldn't get as much release. So I've got the paddle and increased it, and then I've added the performance as well round here so that it is a bit snappier. So when you are going slower, you can still kind of chuck it about a bit. And for those of you who are really trying to eke out as much performance as possible, there's potentiality. I'm not doing this myself. I've kept with the 6.0 length for my standard board, but there is the potential now with the new setup, because there's added volume, is you can maybe knock a bit of rail length off of it as well if you kind of want to surf the Doofer as like your everyday shortboard at home and you're not so worried about traveling with it and really utilizing its nature as a one board quiver specialist. So standard rockers, nothing crazy, but added lift through the foil, and then just ever so slightly added a little bit on the back foot, but I've taken it off on the rail. Something I really liked about the BP round was like the I don't know what you'd call it, the reactiveness of the tail of the BP for such a big board. It always feels like I could just get it on rail really, really quickly. So I have just taken a little bit of foam out of the top of the rail here and just sensitized the tail ever so slightly, but added the foam up here again just to combat the added sensitivity on the rail with a nice, decent, stable platform. So I can take off, I can get to my feet, I'm not wobbling around all over the place, and then I can start my surfing. So it's just a real easy to surf board. Bottom shape, double concave, all the way up, fades out through here into a single, and I just soften that single, and there's maybe even like a touch of V when you get past the last 6 inches of the nose, but that's only just to ever so slightly lift the rail line out. It's not going to affect performance while you're on your feet whatsoever. It's just a nice fluid feeling surfboard throughout, and then the double runs straight out the back, so you've got this really nice balance of constant lift but easy rail to rail maneuverability off of that rolled double. I recommend surfing it as a thruster. I love it as a thruster, but I know lots and lots of people prefer it as a quad, especially if you're not bottom turning. So if you're surfing barrels, or if you're surfing kind of flatter waves where you want to gain extra speed, then the quad is brilliant. And if you want to sort of surf it as a short board and a true sort of one board does all kind of vibe, then the thruster to me is brilliant. Deck line, I've taken a little bit of foam out of the tail. I've kept the deck line nice and flat as it was. And because I've added through the foil through this section of the board, the deck line is ever so flatter up top here. I've tried to keep the rails as sort of slowly transitional into that flat spot as possible, so there's no dramatic feeling of change in the rail. It's nice, and you've got the hard edge going through here. It transitions into the softer edge through here, and then it maintains that, just gets softer and softer and softer here, and there's no dramatic drop down into a sort of thinner rail. It really just kind of maintains its thickness here. It gives you that sense of, what, to me anyway, when it's under my arm, it feels just like safe, and like I can fully just send a turn. I don't know what I can't exactly explain that feeling, but it doesn't look like I've got to be on my best game to not bog. It looks like I can just surf it without sort of thinking about it, and it's there to do the job for me nice and easy. Has that really sort of fluid transition throughout. I guess that's really what I've done over this new Doofer, and over the years as I've refined it, is I've just got the transitions in design concept just more fluid and built more together, and they work more together. As the first idea was like 2 boards into one, it's like, how do you mold that to really get the best balances of an all-rounder? And I feel like I'm fully here now. So the stock 6.0 used to be 19 3/4, 2.5, 32.5 litres, whereas the new 2025 or 2026 or whatever you want to call it, the new Doofer out now is 6.0, 19 7/8, 2 5/8, 34.3. So just by adding that flatness to the deck through here and increasing the stringer thickness, it's 2.3 litres more foam in it, and it really doesn't feel like it. I'm not just saying that, it feels solid. I know I'm going to catch waves, and I know I'm going to paddle like a demon on it, but I know I'm still going to be able to chuck it around as well. It doesn't feel like added volume, it just feels like a safer board. I'm just so excited about it. I really hope that it translates as well for all of you guys, but anyone looking to have a full board all-rounder from sort of knee-high to double overhead, and you only really want 1 or 2 boards, then the Doofer is an absolute must. In terms of ability levels, it doesn't really matter as long as you're, I would say, you need to be whatever intermediate is. You need to not be on foam boards, and you need to be a surfer who's riding shorter rail line boards, and it's going to suit you, all the way to a pro who wants a little nuggy to get into barrels a little bit earlier and to tuck up into lips. You can surf this a little bit shorter. We've done it for so many different people. I really don't think there's a genre of surfer that it suits more than others. Someone who wants loads of waves to go fast and surf it in a wide range of conditions with a similar feeling, if you're that, this is for you all day. In terms of where it sits in the market, it's one of those, I hate making claims like this, but it was literally the only thing of its kind when we made it. Since then, you've got other things like the Hypto Crypto from Hayden Shapes, which I think it surpasses in every area, to be honest, having surfed that board. Like, that board's kind of not as good a paddler. I kind of feel a bit draggy when it's weak. You know, I just don't think it's a, you know, I hate saying it, but this is easier to surf for me. Then you've got stuff like Quiver Killer from Lost, which is a really good board. You know, arguably not quite as refined as the Doofer. You've got Axel Lorenz's OG, which was kind of out at the same time as the Doofer, and they would always sort of compete. I would say the OG is a little bit rounder, softer, a bit more forgiving, probably like lends itself more to like slightly the smaller waves. And then Axel has like a step up range called the Cowboy, is it? The Mad, oh God, I'm so bad with modern names, but he extends the rail lines out for like a more of a travel version of that OG, whereas the Doofer is just the Doofer. So it's that kind of performance hybrid market. There's tons of boards in there now, but really utilizing the dynamic in essentially two different design profiles molded together. I think, yeah, Doofer kind of sits on his own as that kind of easy to ride shortboard, or that super user friendly kind of hybrid. It's there. It's there or thereabouts. So head over to the website and you can custom order it. We will get some stock on the website soon. And if you're not sure of dimensions, we'll put the stock dimensions on the website as well, so you can have a little peruse. And if you need somewhere in between them, just give us a shout and we can customize it. It's a board that's relatively easy to customize. You've got a little ways to go on the volume, on the width, and on the length that you can tweak to suit. So if you're slightly taller surfer or a slightly thicker set surfer, or you want it a little bit more sensitive, we can do all of those little tweaks. So just give us a shout. All new Doofer, the board that does everything, is back, bigger and better than ever. I'm going to try and get some footage on it myself and get the team on it as well, so you can have a look. But really, this is a board for anyone who wants to catch more waves, loads of stability, and surf it in a massive range of conditions. Cheers, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next board review video. Coming soon. Peace.